Welcome to the Book Barn, everyone. Our April book club pick was The Wedding People by Alison Espach.
And today, we're crashing this wedding with our book friend, Lynn.
Hi, Lynn.
Hi, everybody.
We are so happy that you're here.
Yes, we are.
I'm excited.
So, before we get into this book, we have some questions for you.
Oh, yes.
So tell us about your family.
I have 3 grown children and currently 5 grandchildren. I'm blessed that they all live close by, and so we spend a lot of time burning the roads up, seeing my kids and my grandkids.
Nice.
A lot.
I love that.
Yes.
So what book do you find yourself recommending to your friends the most?
Oh, that's a hard one. There's so many good ones. I think for my fellow readers, I recommend The Lovely Bones. It's not a book that I would normally read, but my mom kept saying, you need to read this, you need to read this, and I tried a couple times and couldn't do it. It's got some very touchy subject matter that's difficult to read, but the main character is just so endearing to me, and how she solves her own death. I'm just going to say that much, how she solves her own death. And so that's one that I recommend to a lot of people.
I've not read that one.
Like I said, it's got some tough topics, but it's a good read.
Okay. If you could meet an author for coffee, and they can be dead or alive, who would you pick?
Wow. That's a good one. I really think it would be Jodi Picoult.
Ooh.
Or John Grisham. But the thing about Jodi's books is a lot of them I haven't read just because I know the subject matters are difficult and the topics are difficult sometimes. But they're always very moral stories, it seems like. And I just would love to pick her brain. And John Grisham, I just think that legal mind of his must be very interesting as well.
Yeah. I like her a lot.
Yes, I've liked the books that I've read. One that stuck with me, and it was because I was working at the high school at the time. I don't know if you've ever read 19 Minutes.
No.
It is about a school shooting.
Oh.
And, oh my goodness, what was hard was I could see the characters from the book in our school, and that was hard, but it was very eye-opening too.
Yeah, I imagine.
My favorite of hers is The Storyteller.
I've not read that one.
Very good.
I've not read that one. Let's try it.
So what is your guilty pleasure book or genre that you just can't stop reading, no matter how cheesy it might be?
Cheesy.
Cheesy.
I love the serious historical stuff, but if I'm in a place where I just want entertained, I read romancy, rom-com, sometimes a little smutty. Just that lighthearted stuff that I don't have to go down any rabbit holes.
Yeah.
Escape a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to go more to a rapid fire, just quick answers. Okay. Do you prefer social time or being alone?
Being alone.
Do you consider yourself tech savvy?
No.
Favorite restaurant?
You got me. I don't think I have a favorite.
Do you have a favorite type of food?
Actually, the food truck, the Japanese food truck.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
pretty nice.
I like their sushi.
So where is your favorite place to read?
My sofa.
And do you prefer ebook, actual book, or audiobook?
I like an actual book. I do read ebook, but actual books are my favorite.
I kind of agree.
So I can't wait to talk about this book. But before we really get started, let's take a moment to talk about the author, Alison Espach. So this is my first time reading anything from her, but she's known for her sharp, emotional storytelling. She has a knack for capturing the weird little corners of everyday life. You may know her from The Adults, her debut novel that got all kinds of critical love. And in The Wedding People, she brings that same quirky, emotional depth.
Okay, so I'm going to set the scene here. Phoebe Stone walks into a luxurious hotel, and she is wearing a beautiful green dress.
she realizes that she has walked into what's probably someone's wedding, and all of the guests are checking in, and she's standing in line observing everyone.
She even names them. One she calls high bun and one she calls neck pillow.
Yeah, and then she also observes that there's a whole lot of Jims in this family. You know,
Oh, yeah.
Uncle Jim and Cousin Jim. Doesn't one of the Jims fall on the
floor?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And there's another Jim who ends up being kind of important to the story too. But
Well, and I thought it was funny that of all the people there, and she was the only non-wedding person there.
right.
And this wedding is not your typical wedding. It's like a 6-day long, $1 million big event.
Multi-million-dollar, I think.
Maybe. The guests even receive little like gift bags as they arrive. They get, snacks and wine. I think Phoebe gets chocolate
It
wine.
was chocolate wine.
Have you had that before?
No.
I have.
Is it good?
After I read this, I made my husband go buy me some. I'm bringing it to book club.
Oh,
Yay.
good. I'll have to sample it. I'm excited. Okay, I'm there for the chocolate wine.
Woohoo! And this is such an expensive wedding that Lila, the bride, she even hired a jazz band to play that played for Prince William's royal wedding.
Oh, gosh. I forgot about that part.
Very extravagant. So Lila actually thinks that Phoebe is part of maybe some of the family that she hasn't met yet. Phoebe doesn't correct her. Oh, so Phoebe is our main character. We need to
say that.
She is a professor.
Yes. Did her dissertation on 19th century literature.
Yep, she's from St. Louis, and she has come all the way to Rhode Island.
Well, wasn't this supposed to be an anniversary trip for her and her husband?
She wanted her husband to take
That's
her
what it
there.
was.
Yes. He preferred to take her back to the Ozarks.
So the Phoebe and the bride Lila, they meet in the elevator.
And they start talking to each other, and Phoebe just says it. I'm going to kill myself.
And Lila says, "No, you can't."
Yeah, it'll ruin my wedding.
That was the first clue that she was so into herself.
Yeah, self-absorbed.
A bit of a bridezilla.
Bit of a bridezilla. She was very demanding.
Big bridezilla.
And she had all these very extravagant plans for the whole entire wedding week. She just had event after event.
Yeah.
It's hard to fathom that people actually have weddings like that.
But I know they do.
Yeah, they do.
And then eventually she goes back up to Phoebe's room because she's trying to talk her out of killing herself because it will ruin her wedding. And Phoebe's real honest with her because Lila has something in her teeth.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
And that's where they kind of connect because Lila realizes that, hey, I can trust this woman because I've been around my friends all day long and no one has told me I've had food in my teeth. So, yeah, they kind of form a little bit of a bond right then.
Phoebe's still determined that she's going to do what she came to do. But then she kind of gets pulled in because she hears all of the wedding activities going on.
Right outside of her balcony.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, do you want to tell our listeners how she was going to kill herself?
Do you remember, Lynn? Do you remember how she...
All I can remember is the green dress. And
Yeah.
that's what she was going to die in because that was
Yeah.
the prettiest dress she thought that she owned, and she wanted to look nice. And I remember her not wanting to do anything bloody because she didn't want anybody to have to clean it up.
Right.
This wasn't going to be bloody. Remember, she had a cat.
Oh, that's right.
And her cat died right before she left, too, which was actually very sad. But she was going to take some of her cat's...
We think it was like a tranquilizer.
Like a
think
sedative,
so.
cat sedative or
Yes.
something. And that's how she planned to do it.
So eventually Phoebe doesn't kill herself that night and she ends up down in the hot tub.
Yes, with this guy. And I just kept thinking, where's this going?
Right.
She's very bold with him.
Yes.
Yeah, very bold. Yeah, they do have some chemistry. I mean, both of them.
yes.
It's kind of going back and forth, but
And they're about the same age, as I recall.
yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
But he's already taken.
Yes. He was older.
Yeah, she did ask him if he was here at the wedding with someone, and he said, yeah, I am with someone. So,
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah, exactly.
Really. So Phoebe gets pulled into all these activities. She even gets to take a convertible ride to a boat with the wedding party. She gets to drive because she's the only one that can drive a stick shift.
Well, I mean, and before that, she actually meets the groom.
Right.
It's hot tub guy.
It is.
For real.
Yeah, so I really didn't see that coming. So that one actually.
See, I felt like it was.
Oh.
I just had this feeling that he was the groom because it just the way it all felt to
Yeah.
me.
I thought maybe it was a guest that she was going to end up with, or a wedding, somebody in the wedding party. And I came in, I saw Lanie, and I like, oh, she said, well, where are you? And I'm like, well, she's just been in the hot tub with that guy. And she was like, oh yeah, that guy. And I don't know why it didn't occur to me that maybe it's the groom, because it just didn't at the time.
I did not give it away. So they take this convertible, they go to the boat, they all get on the boat. It's a big party, except for Juice is sad.
Which Juice is Gary's daughter. Gary is the groom, and Juice is his about 11-year-old daughter. Gary's wife died. Yeah, he's getting ready to marry Lila. But yeah, Juice has this
Tech pet.
Her dog died. And they go out to sea to do a little burial.
Well, and the only person that really helped her with that in the beginning was Phoebe. Phoebe connected with Juice, and they end up throwing the tech pet overboard.
Yeah, and Phoebe does get to say goodbye. In her head, she says goodbye to her cat Harry too. So that was something that was a little bit healing for her as well.
They have a specific drink that they drink on the boat. I think Lila and her friends used to drink that in college.
Oh, that's right. In college. It was a college drink. I don't remember what it was called, but they all drank it.
Yeah. High Bun and Neck Pillow. Those are her bridesmaids. So
the maid of honor is not there yet. But a little later, they go to the bachelorette party, and it was the maid of honor that planned that.
Do you remember the bachelorette party, Lynn?
I don't.
It has to do with pandas.
It's the panda expert. Panda reproduction.
Yes, and how that was going to influence the women that were there.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was a very weird scene.
Yes, that's all coming back to me. That was very strange.
It was very strange.
The strangest ever.
And then
I can't even imagine being in that room.
And then towards the end of her presentation, she starts asking the women some questions. And I think we kind of start to see a glimpse of Lila's insecurities or something. Because she's been this very confident, bold, demanding bride. And she doesn't want to answer these questions about her love for Gary. And
I don't think she can answer the question.
Right. I don't think she can. So I think Phoebe starts to take notice of that too. Like something's kind of not right
Like
here.
maybe she was getting married for all the wrong reasons.
Right. Right. So later we find out that the maid of honor is no longer able to come to the wedding.
Yeah.
Right.
And so Lila asks Phoebe to step in.
But she had no idea what that meant in Lila's eyes.
Right.
It was a big, big ask.
Well, it meant a lot, actually, because she had to, what did she have to do?
One thing she had to do was she had to stay alive.
She had to stay alive.
That's the biggest ask right there, staying alive, because Phoebe had planned on already being gone at this point.
Well, then Lila starts asking her to do everything. Like, okay, Juice wants to go surfing. So Gary's going. Juice is going. You go too. Which they ended up having a really good time.
They did. They had a fun
Yes, they had a
day.
really good day.
So let's talk about some secrets that unfold in this story. And let's start with Phoebe. Her and her ex-husband, Matt, struggled with infertility. And not only did they struggle with infertility, but when they did actually get pregnant, she miscarried.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the beginning of the end for Matt and Phoebe. Any thoughts on that, Miss Laisha?
Well, yeah. I mean, I told Lanie I connected with this story, and I know that it wasn't in the same way that she did. She took this as a comedy,
Yes.
really. And I took things very differently. I connected with it on a much deeper level because I also struggled with infertility and miscarriages, pregnancy loss. I had 3 miscarriages between 2 of my boys. So I really felt Phoebe's emotions. I mean, yeah.
So, Laisha, I want to thank you for sharing that. I have a little regret that I wasn't there for you during that time in your life. Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
And that was brave of you to share with us.
Oh, thank you. Well, and I also have battled some depression throughout my lifetime too, but I do feel like I'm in a better place in the last few years. So it's fun being with my friend, and, good things going on in my life always make it better. So,
This not quite year of us doing this, well, it has been over a year with the book club. It has been the best. I love reconnecting, and I love you.
same. So Phoebe,
The poor girl. She is dealing with so much, and then her husband cheats on her with one of her friends,
and her friend, she has a baby.
which is devastating.
It is. So now she's dealing with the loss of her pregnancies. She's dealing with the loss of her husband. He is divorcing her, and she just has a whole lot of grief. And she's mourning the family that she never gets to have.
And then has to go to work and see that husband.
Oh, the 2 of them together. And I mean, I think that's the final straw for her.
I agree.
If I remember correctly, she was ready to go, and then she went home to pack her bags, and the cat had died.
Yeah.
And so then that really kind of sealed the deal for her.
Yeah.
Right.
She couldn't even bury him. She just covered him up.
She left him there and covered him up.
Yeah. That was so sad.
Phoebe's not the only one struggling, though.
No.
Gary
has lost his wife, and he does care for Lila. I mean, I think that is true. But as he spends time with Phoebe, you can see him being really happy and carefree, and he starts to notice that.
because he hasn't been happy
He
for a
hasn't
very
been.
long time.
Not even with Lila.
Right.
He hasn't been. And then Lila isn't as happy with Gary as she thinks she's going to be. Well, first of all, we need to say that Gary was her father's doctor. Did we already say that?
No.
No. So Gary is was her father's doctor. She lost her father to cancer, and Gary was the oncologist treating him. And when they first got together, Lila felt like that was just the way that life was going to go. She was going to marry Gary. He was going to
Save her dad.
and things were just going to be great. And then her father doesn't make it. She is engaged to Gary. She plans to go ahead and go with the wedding, but she has also thoughts of, why didn't he save him? So it becomes really deep.
Very deep.
Once again, those very self-centered feelings that she has.
Yes.
I just saw her overall as a very self-centered person.
Well, even with her mother.
She wasn't very nice to Patricia.
No, which Patricia didn't seem very nice to her at times, but then she is struggling with the loss of her husband.
Right.
And
She was a bit of a loose cannon, Patricia was.
Yes.
she was. I had a quote from Patricia, and I wanted to say it. Let me find it in my notes here. So this is in chapter 14, and Patricia's actually talking to Phoebe about Lila, and she says, "It's not easy being angry at your own creation. It's like being angry at yourself." And as a mom, I felt that. It also is kind of a time of self-reflection. Like, I raised this, so
Right.
so I really felt that
Yes.
as a mom. So
When Lila and Gary met, it was because Jim, Gary's friend, takes him into an art gallery that Patricia runs, because she runs an art gallery. And Gary ends up buying a nude that we later find out is Patricia.
Well, and Lila encouraged him to purchase it, told him
Yes.
where it should hang in his house, and and then that same painting actually ends up at their rehearsal dinner
does.
too, which I thought was actually kind of very crazy. But
I think it was kind of more of a Picasso type, more, squares, but you could tell it was a nude woman.
yeah,
So moving on to preparations for the wedding. Lila again asks Phoebe to go with Gary to get his tux. And they take a little detour because Phoebe's decided that she's going to maybe winter sit for a mansion, and Gary wants to go with her. So they go to see this big, would you call it a mansion or would you call it a manor?
I think they called it a manor.
a manor. Yeah,
Okay.
it was by built by a Civil War hero.
Yes.
Yeah, and so Gary was interested in it too, but they go in and he decides that maybe she should have his number so that she could call him if she sees a ghost.
And she's happy to have his number.
She is happy to have his number. But she's also, I thought this was interesting because obviously she's decided she's not dying yet.
Right.
She's gonna stick around, and she's probably not going back to St. Louis.
Yeah.
And Gary lives in the area. Gary and Lila
And Jim.
And Jim, yes. Yep. So it was kind of a big turning point too. So that day Gary goes and gets a haircut.
And a shave.
And a shave.
He feels like he was robbed when it's all over with.
But I feel like that's the time when some emotional lines start to blur between Phoebe and Gary. Actually, I think that's when Phoebe realizes she is in love with Gary.
Well, and I also think Phoebe was so good with Juice, whereas Lila was not.
Right.
And I think that was another thing that played into Gary's feelings is he's a single dad trying to raise this girl, and he can physically sit there and watch the difference in the way she responds to Phoebe compared to how she responds to Lila. And I think that went into consideration too. And then when they finally got time, just the two of them, it kind of just sealed the deal that they were having feelings for one another, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did love how she got to be motherly.
Oh,
to Juice.
me too.
Me
That
too.
was one of my favorite parts of her character, was that she had so much empathy for Juice.
Mm-hmm.
And I just really liked that about her character.
Agree. So Lila does lean heavily on Phoebe for emotional support. I did have a little quote that I found as well. It is Phoebe talking to Lila because, we know Lila likes to have other people take care of her.
Mm-hmm.
And the quote is, "Your husband is not going to take care of you the way you think," Phoebe says. "Nobody can take care of you the way you need to take care of yourself. It's your job to take care of yourself like that." I like that
Wise
one.
words.
Yeah.
So can we jump forward and talk about the speeches?
Yeah. So is this right after, have we done the rehearsal dinner yet?
The speeches, I think, take place
Oh.
before the rehearsal dinner, I think.
Okay.
Not the speeches. The speeches take place at the rehearsal dinner, but the writing of the speeches is what I'm talking about.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. So this is when Phoebe and Jim is Gary's best friend and Gary's late wife's brother. So it's his
That's
brother-in-law. Right. Yep. So they're very close. But anyway, Phoebe and Jim have to write speeches as the best man and maid of honor. And they write speeches together while eating some
Gummies.
Some giggly gummies.
Yes.
I don't know.
And she just writes and writes and writes. And then the next day she reads it and is like,
I can't read any of this. It was also like about not marrying and not or something. I don't remember. But Jim's speech, his was a little bit too honest.
Yeah.
Because his was written for Lila because Lila's really his love interest.
And I don't think we've said that. When he talked Gary into going.
Well, you did. You
okay.
said,
Okay.
Yep. He talked Gary into going into the art gallery.
Because he's the one that liked her.
Yeah. Yeah. And Lila complains about Jim and the way that Jim tends to treat her and is almost angry at her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all because he's not wanting to show his true emotions with her, I think. And he also feels a little cheated because that was supposed to be his girl.
Yeah. They do go back and forth pretty good together.
Yeah. So they do come to this rehearsal dinner.
Oh, yes. 5-course rehearsal dinner that gets kicked off with a good Catholic prayer.
Yes.
So then Lila decides that they're not even going to do the speeches because
Fireworks.
And if they do the speeches, they're not going to have time to do the fireworks or to get to the fireworks. And she's starting to get very, very particular about all of these wedding events and how they have to be. And you start to see something going on there because you're like, what, why is she not just enjoying the moment?
So very controlling about it.
Yeah, very controlling over everything, and everything has to be perfect.
But Jim does jump up and give a speech anyway.
Yeah, without her blessing. Yeah.
And he is very honest. And I wrote something down. Lila says, was Jim just seriously hitting on me during his best man speech? And the answer, ladies, is yes.
Yes, he was.
And during this rehearsal, Juice is taking swigs of wine.
Oh, goodness, yes. And she ends up vomiting all over the table. Yeah. And so Phoebe's the one that takes her upstairs and takes care of her in the room. And then a little bit later, Gary does come up to check on Juice.
He's about to tell her his feelings, but do you remember, Lynn, who shows up?
Phoebe's ex-husband.
Yep.
Matt. He does.
Knocks at the door.
Yes, and it's like a train wreck getting ready to happen, and you can see it, but you can't stop it.
Right.
Yeah, so Matt had been worried about her. He had been texting her. God, we got your little dogs going on there.
I heard the train earlier as well.
Yeah. So Matt, he's been worried. He's been texting her and calling her, and so he just arrives. I don't even remember how he found her.
Credit card. He was still on the account.
Oh, okay. So they do have a moment, I guess, and Phoebe and Matt end up spending the night together. And he's going to go to the wedding with her.
Which she does not want, really.
No,
but
not really, but
what can you do? So she has to go with Lila and the other ladies to get their hair done on the wedding day. And she ends up letting them give her some side bangs. Would you do that on the day of the wedding, Lynn?
I probably wouldn't, but I can see why she did.
Yeah.
Sure.
She was trying to recreate herself.
Right.
I remember back in the day when we'd go to proms, I always got a perm on prom day. And that's right.
Very
people
brave,
are always
Lanie.
like, what? But I always did.
I got a haircut the day before my sister's wedding and regretted it every minute.
Oh, no.
So I don't recommend it.
So then Lila and the wedding party, the girls, I think it was just the girls, they go outside and here comes the car that's supposed to take them to the wedding.
Oh, that's right. And Lila has a meltdown because it's not what she says.
It's not the right car.
No, it's not the right car.
It's uber black, she said.
It's a Mercedes, though.
Yeah, come on. Who wouldn't want to be in a Mercedes?
But she is just certain that it is going to ruin her wedding. So Phoebe steps up as the maid of honor and helps Lila through this little last-minute meltdown.
Well,
And then
the truth is, Lila's not going to this wedding.
She doesn't want to go.
She doesn't. This was the excuse that got her out of it, honestly.
Yeah.
So Phoebe tells her, go up, take a bath, go somewhere, be free.
Yep.
So Lila and Gary will not be getting married. And she tells Matt that she is not going to return to St. Louis with him.
Oh, and Lila says to Phoebe that it's a waste. And Phoebe does agree that it was a waste of money. But this part, Phoebe says, it's not a waste because I came here to die and I'll always be grateful to you. Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, Phoebe is kind of energized now. She feels like she just wants to enjoy her beautiful dress and her side bangs.
And Juice wants to know if the wedding being called off is her fault.
I felt really bad about that.
And her aunt does say, we could have been nicer to Lila, and they could have been. I remember at the very end, one of my favorite parts was the very next day, if you girls remember, Lila's gone and her mother's gone with her.
Oh, yeah, they went on the trip together, went to Canada together.
But the rest of them, other than Gary, go downstairs to eat, and they're telling Phoebe all about Gary, and eventually Gary texts Phoebe back. Do you remember where he's at?
Is he in the hot tub?
He's back in the hot tub,
Yeah.
and she says, I'll be right there.
I want to read this because I think this is right about where you're thinking about. Gary leans his head back against the edge of the tub to look up at the sky, while Phoebe looks around at all that is before her. She feels the wind against her cheek and the warmth of her toes. She feels excited about the rain that is going to come soon. She listens to the birds in the trees and the sounds of other people's children swimming in the pool. Juice, who will one day grow up and forget what she ever loved so much about hotel pools. She will stay at beautiful hotels around the world and never once use the pool. She will look in the mirror and say, who in the blank am I? Why did I ever want to be called Juice? My name is Melanie. She will have to practice saying her full name. All of them will, because Gary is not wrong. Becoming who you want to be is just like anything else. It takes practice. It requires belief that one day you will wake up and be a natural at it. This right here summed up the whole book for me, about women finding who they really are and becoming who they really are, and let it just soak into their skin. And I just thought that
Beautiful.
that section right there really, really spoke it. Yeah.
I had a couple of other quotes too that I really liked. Okay, this one. It's not as beautiful as yours, but it can tell a lot about me. So this is in chapter 5, and this is the quote. She thinks too much. She thinks and thinks and thinks until she's so tired of thinking she never properly finishes what she started. And boy,
I do that
me.
too.
That's so me. Lanie, that's so me, right? And then
We're on the same team.
Yeah. And then this is in chapter 2. I did love this also. Phoebe was talking to Matt about books and I think Russian literature or something.
There was a lot of books mentioned in this book.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Me too.
Then she says, I just mean a story can be beautiful not because of the way it ends, but because of the way it is written.
Oh, that is
Yes.
good.
And I love that line.
Because you like a well-written book.
I do.
Yes.
I liked the book. As I said, I was listening to it on trips to my grandkids, many hours on the road, and it kept me entertained. I did think it had some comedy in it.
Mm-hmm.
I do get that there's some seriousness there as well, but I thought it was a good book.
I enjoyed it. At first, I was like, where's this story going? And then once I kind of got hooked in, and it didn't take very long, but I just, it's one of those books that I'll remember for a while.
Yeah, I think I will too. I really did enjoy the writing style. I thought that it was sharp and witty, and it really did a great job combining humor with that emotional depth too. And I very much enjoyed the humor in the book, but I connected with it on an emotional level.
Right.
I really did. And I do recommend it. I think that it's great for readers who enjoy a really character-driven story because there were so many characters and you just learned so much about them.
So is this a good time for me to talk about one other book?
No. Well, yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is. Sorry. Yes, it
Okay.
is.
So I also read, I listened to another audiobook about the same time that I was listening to this one. It's a Nora Roberts. Do you guys ever read Nora
yes.
Roberts? But this book title was Inheritance. It's the first book in the Lost Bride trilogy, so it was also about wedding people. So Sonia is the name of the girl, and her fiance cheats on her with a cousin.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
That's the way it always goes.
I know, right? And so she kicks him out. She has to leave her job because they work in the same job. And then she gets this message that a long-lost uncle, a twin to her dad that she didn't even know about, has died and has left her all that he had, including this huge manor. And the only catch is she has to live there for 3 years. And it's haunted.
Oh.
So she goes to this manor, and it's very September House-like. There are, yes, the walls bleed.
Oh, gosh.
There are ghosts. One of the ghosts plays music for her, depending on her mood or what she's doing. That part's hilarious. There's a child ghost that plays ball with her dog. The house is cursed. And with every generation, the people that get married that are connected to the house, the bride is killed because of the curse. And so it just goes on and on. I liked it, but Lynn, you're not going to like it because they don't wrap it up.
Oh, my. So they left it wide open because it's a trilogy.
And you have to read the next book to
find out.
I'm not
doing that again.
So I recommend it as well. I would just give it a 3 out of 5. It was good. I prefer the September House. I thought the September House was a little more witty, but it was good. And it went along with the wedding people.
So we have a good wedding theme going on.
Yes, we do,
and it is coming up on wedding season, so it's all very appropriate, right?
So we are recording before we talk about this book with our book club. What do you think they'll say?
It's a toss-up. I think some of them are really going to like it. I think there are going to be a few that don't.
I feel like it could spark some discussions about grief or loss, depression.
I agree. Yeah. I think you're right on that one.
So I think it could be an emotional meeting.
Well, girls, I think we're ready to wrap this up.
Okay,
right.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
I have decided that we should toast in the spirit of wedding season.
I love that. Okay. With our water.
We are going to toast with our water. Here is to the messy chapters that lead us to our greatest stories.
Cheers.
Until next time, I'm Laisha.
And I'm Lanie.
And I'm Lynn.
And keep your bookmarks busy.